Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. Ever since creating this channel, for the most part, we've covered cases in which human beings have inflicted the most unimaginable brutality upon each other. Whether these gruesome acts be committed by drug cartels or political and religious extremists, the reality is, after watching and researching such content, it can leave you with a somewhat jaded worldview. Ultimately, to go down the rabbit hole is to enter a period of chaos or confusion. Upon making this channel, I intended to be a basic true crime YouTuber, essentially just covering a few gruesome cases, hoping to get a few clicks, as selfish as that sounds. But I quickly developed an obsession with the war on drugs in Mexico, and as I covered more cartel content, and as my channel grew, I quickly realised that this is more than just some cheap internet likes. This is real life. This is happening in real time. Subsequently, I received emails from people living in Mexico, living in the current situation, and as bad as these videos that we cover are, to actually receive contact from people living in Mexico explaining in regards to how bad things really are and how their lives are affected, loved ones they've lost, it really makes this situation hit a lot different. And you do think to yourself, is this worth doing? Am I doing the right thing? Excuse my French, but it's a bit of a mindfuck. Despite all of this, I do have to remind myself that I'm indeed very fortunate to live in a first world country where the likelihood of these sort of things happening to me or my loved ones is extremely low. At the end of the day, it's a privilege to live in a relatively safe society. So much so that I believe many of us forget how fragile human life really is. Any day could be our last, maybe due to illness, or maybe due to an unforeseen, tragic accident, whether it be down to our own negligence or somebody else's. And that brings us to today's topic: 5 gruesome accidents caught on camera. Number 1. The Russian brick video. On the 12th of June 2012, 29-year-old Olga Gaykovich was enjoying a day out with her partner and another family. It's believed that the group were on holiday. In fact, they'd just got done eating at a roadside cafe in the Rostov region. After finishing their meal, the group would resume their road trip. Little did they know, a mere 2 minutes after leaving the cafe, their lives would never be the same again, and Olga would tragically lose hers. The devastating events of that day were recorded on dashcam and subsequently uploaded to the internet. The entire dashcam footage is around 5 minutes long, and it starts by capturing the very moment that the group leave the cafe. The group set off, and it just appears to be your everyday road trip. Chill conversations can be heard in the background. Just under 2 minutes into the dashcam footage, a Kamaz flatbed truck can be seen approaching in the distance, driving on the other side of the road and heading in the opposite direction. Just as the two vehicles pass each other, a brick flies off the back of the truck and directly hits the car's windshield. The brick penetrates the windshield, hitting Olga and completely destroying the right side of her temple. Immediately, those in the car realise what has just happened, and screaming ensues. The driver, Olga's partner, pulls up along the roadside. Olga's partner breaks down crying, screaming, "Oh my god." He's inconsolable. The pain in his voice is honestly heartbreaking, and one of the worst things I've ever listened to, quite frankly. The child of the couple who were sitting in the back seat can also be heard crying. The whole situation is tragic. Olga was subsequently rushed to a hospital in Azov with a severe open head injury. After 2 hours of failed attempts to revive her, she was pronounced dead. The driver of the Kamaz truck did not even realise what had happened. He drove on. Although an investigation was carried out by the police, it's unclear what conclusion they came to. The local Azov police, however, did comment at the time and said the following: Perhaps we are talking about the criminal negligence of the driver of the Kamaz truck, a resident of Azov, who did not provide a reliable fastening of the cargo being transported. So it does seem like some sort of investigation did transpire. However, I cannot find any details of it online. Ultimately, it's a completely unfortunate and tragic event, and it's a unique video on this list because you don't actually see any gore, but what you hear is just as bad, if not worse. The crying and harrowing screams of those in the vehicle convey the trauma of this tragic incident. If you watch this video with the sound, it will stick with you. The event is just a tragic twist of fate. Just imagine if they were 30 seconds later, leaving the cafe. Just imagine if the waiter, for example, took a little longer to hand them their bill, or any other minor inconvenience came up, then this wouldn't have happened. Whether you call it fate, or just sheer bad luck, it's absolutely terrifying, because something like this could happen to any of us. Number 2. Diving face split. During the late 2000s to the early 2010s, it's arguable that the internet subculture of shock sites was at its height. Websites such as Rotten.com, Best Gore and LiveLeak garnered much controversy, but also a lot of attention. As a result, some of the sick and depraved videos hosted on such websites went viral. One such example can be dated back to 2009. The video, which was filmed in Lebanon, depicts a horrific diving accident. The video first appeared online in July of 2009, appearing on Arabic and Turkish websites. However, it never truly went viral until September of that year. The video found its way to popular shock sites and was even shared on social media sites such as Facebook. The video is exactly 2 minutes long. The video opens up and a group of teenagers are having fun at the seaside. One by one, the teenagers are diving off the seaside promenade into the ocean. I'd estimate that the drop is roughly 25 feet. The first teenager takes the jump and successfully dives into the ocean. His friends applaud him. The second diver is up next, a boy who is believed to have been around 16 years old at the time of the incident. The boy takes a slow run-up before the jump, and as he attempts to jump, he slips on the promenade, which as a result doesn't give him enough distance to clear the concrete fishing platform below. As the boy is falling, he flips through the air before smashing his head on the concrete below. His lifeless body floats in the ocean, with the sea turning into a blood red. His friends let out piercing screams after realizing what they had just witnessed. The video then shows a short scene where coast guards are attending to the boy. At this point, the sea is even more bloody. Sadly, the video gets far worse. The next scene shows the boy in hospital being overseen by a team of doctors. At this point, he is somehow still alive. You see the full extent of his injuries, and his head has been completely split open vertically. The boy is still fully conscious during this. You can see his eyes dart around in panic and terror. The doctor pushes the boy's face back together in order to aid his breathing. The injury was so severe that even the doctor was shocked. He can be heard saying, "Where do I begin?" The video then ends. The boy was kept alive for 2 days in ICU before he sadly passed away. The death was due to a spinal fracture, and in particular, severe internal bleeding in the brain. The video is extremely sad, and not for the faint of heart. Ultimately, it's a tragic example of the foolishness of youth. Number 3. Elevator Crush. Although this is not the most graphic video on the list, I found this one to be the most difficult to watch. The video is around 40 seconds long, taking place in Mumbai, India. It was filmed on elevator CCTV. The video starts innocuously enough. 3 young children are taking the elevator to get to their apartment. To give you guys some context, I have to talk about the elevator design, and it's extremely unsafe. Essentially, the elevator has a gate that you have to pull open when you get to your floor, and then, once the metal gate has been opened, you then have to open the door to your floor. So entering and exiting the elevator is a manual process. The doors don't open automatically. Nevertheless, the three young children reach their floor. They open the metal gate and then open the door. Two of the children safely get out of the elevator. However, the last child, as he's exiting the elevator, decides to close the metal gate behind him. However, as he does this, the door to his floor also closes, so he's trapped between both doors. Some speculation indicates that the second door was actually closed by his siblings as a prank, which inadvertently trapped the young boy. The boy remained stuck for a couple of seconds, and then the elevator begins to move. The boy instinctively tries to grab something to hold. However, as the elevator begins changing floors, the boy's body starts to contort and is crushed by the elevator. His body then completely disappears as it's sucked up by the moving elevator. And that is where the video ends. It's an extremely horrible video, and emotionally, this one hits very deep. The child was only 5 years old when this happened, and naturally, when you see something like this, you automatically think of the family and the effect that this is going to have on them. It's just heartbreaking, and just imagine that if his siblings did play the prank on him and closed the door, imagine the guilt they're going to be feeling for the rest of their lives. An innocent prank, so to speak, but a prank that inadvertently killed their brother. Number 4. Textile machine accident. Now, for this entry, I have to shout out Plagued Moth, so check his channel out in the pinned comment below. Originally, I was going to cover the Russian lathe video on this segment, but Plagued Moth has covered that case and did a great job, so I thought why not find something different, but similar. The video in question comes out of China and is filmed on CCTV in a textile factory. Now, there's no real backstory or information behind this video, so I'll do my best to describe it. The video is quite drawn out, which makes this even worse, almost 4 minutes to be exact. As the video begins, a man is seen operating a large industrial textile machine. At the end of the machine is a large rotating pole, which I presume drags the cloth or fabric through the machine. The man can be seen attaching the material to the pole, then, inexplicably, the machine turns on. The man gets caught in between the cloth and the spinning pole, which, in turn, violently spins the man round and round. After every rotation, his legs smash against the concrete floor. After every rotation, the floor below becomes increasingly stained with blood. As the video progresses, you see the continued destruction of the man's lower legs, to the point where they are almost completely flexible, so the bones in his lower legs have been completely destroyed and shattered. The floor below the machine becomes completely stained with blood. After nearly 4 minutes, the machine begins to slow down, and as a result, the man's lifeless body detaches from the machine and it hits the floor. This is where the video ends. It's extremely long, drawn out and graphic, but the one thing that struck me was how preventable this was. If he had a colleague working with him, he could have switched the machine off before the damage became critical. It's a video comparable to the Russian lathe incident. However, I would argue that this video is worse, because ultimately, the victim had to suffer a lot longer. I'd estimate that he was rotated by the machine at least 200 plus times. That's 200 plus times where his legs are smashing against the concrete below. That can't be a quick way to go out. Number 5. Train fatality aftermath. Now, this is by far the goriest entry on this list. The video is around 30 seconds long and is shot in India. The video starts and immediately you see the aftermath of a man who has just been hit by a train. It's very likely that this is a suicide. The man has a large crowd surrounding him, many of which are filming this on their mobile phones. The man has been completely cut in half, with his intestines hanging out his body. Unbelievably, the man at this point is still conscious, though he's in severe shock. The crowd surrounding him, which includes children, continue to observe. Despite being cut in half, the man appears to try to stand up on his hands. He manages to do this for about a second until he hits the ground again. He falls on his back, but then rolls so that he's laying on his chest, and then he tries to crawl. At this point, members of the crowd can be seen kneeling and getting closer as they are recording this on their mobile phones, and then the video ends. While it's a short video, it's extremely graphic, and honestly, to me at least, I found this video triggering. The people surrounding him were more concerned with observing and recording what was going on, rather than comforting him. Obviously, at this point, nobody could have helped him, but you would have thought that at least somebody would try to comfort him in his last few moments of life. I just found it extremely sad, and to top it off, one of those people from the group then subsequently uploaded this online. Yeah, it's just really sad, especially considering that the majority of these sort of videos are suicide attempts, and there are numerous other videos involving trains that are similar. There's many videos like this online, including another, which once again is from India, where a man has been cut in half by a train, and while he's still conscious, he's placed inside of a body bag and then sealed, which is absolutely horrific. While I'm sure at that point there's no hope, but in reality that is no way to treat somebody in their final moments. I mean, it's absolutely horrific, and again the sad thing is there's many videos like this online. There's not really much more I can add. If there's anybody out there who is struggling, please feel free to drop me an email or hit me a DM on Twitter, and I'll do my best to respond. Even if you just need somebody to vent to, feel free. I mean, ultimately, it's the least I can do, because sometimes that's all it really takes is for somebody to listen, right? So, if there's anybody out there who does need somebody to vent to, please feel free. And yeah, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. If any of you guys have any video topics or ideas, please feel free to comment below, or even better, get in contact, drop me a DM, hit me an email, and I will most definitely read it. And yeah, thank you guys very much for the continued support. And lastly, I am now launching a Patreon. The link to that will be in the pinned comment. For Patreon, I have a few ideas in mind. First and foremost, I do plan on doing exclusive live streams on Patreon. On top of that, exclusive content, some of which will be more disturbing content, like you're used to seeing. But I also want to get into other avenues as well and talk about different topics. Maybe some pseudo-philosophical talks about life, the universe, and everything in it. Maybe some conspiratorial type of content. The book is open. Essentially, we'll see where it goes. I have to confess, I'm not a guy who plans. I wouldn't really call myself a traditional YouTuber. I don't write scripts or anything like that. So I think Patreon would be a good avenue for me to really let my hair down and talk about whatever I want to talk about, really, as well as having some disturbing content, exclusive live streams. Basically, we'll see where it goes. That is the plan. We'll see where it takes us. Ultimately, I see it as a place where I can be far less pigeonholed, essentially. But yeah, rest assured, if you're not interested, that is totally fine. Nothing will change on this channel. Bear that in mind. Nothing will change on the channel. Everything here will remain the same. And yeah, that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.